I'm Dani Menkin, the writer, director of the film Aulcie, and I'm very honored to present to you guys the one and only my childhood hero and my movie hero, Aulcie. I'm talking to you guys from Los Angeles. Aulcie is in Ramat Gan, Israel. We're actually recording this on the anniversary for the big victory of Maccabi Tel Aviv over the Russians in 1977. So this will be probably the first thing we're going to touch. But I also want to thank the Silicon Valley Jewish Film Festival, who is hosting this live chat between Aulcie Perry and myself. Aulcie, today, 1977, it was Mickey's birthday. And I think I'm probably not going to exaggerate if I'll say that this day also changed your life. There was a cake there, and it's the second cake in the story, right?
Yes, it was.
You can refer to the first cake, and then the second cake that came to Mickey, and really was in a day that made history for all of us.
It was unbelievable. For me, it was the biggest game of my life, and I knew it and I felt it before we went into it because it was about 7 or 8 players on the Russian team that beat the Americans that cheated the Americans in the Olympics when they won. And so I had something inside of me. I really wanted to prepare myself to be the best I could be in this game. I wanted to really show myself to try to get back some of the honor of the Americans after they had cheated us so badly.
And when people mention how significant you were for the team, they mention this game. Because up until that point, Maccabi Tel Aviv did not have somebody that dominated the rebound like you did, or you were able to compete with the Russians. What do you remember from the game?
The only time, this is one of the times that I asked the Maccabi to give me a room alone. I know I had to be very focused on what needed to be done. And I spent those times really concentrating on what I had to do. And it came out. It worked out very, very good. I focused on, I knew I had to get rebounds. I didn't think about scoring. We had enough people that could score. I knew I had to play good defense and get rebounds. And it worked out. I focused on that for 2 days, concentrating on that, thinking about it day and night. And it worked out pretty good.
And it's probably not going to be an exaggeration to say that that was the pivot point of your career, Maccabi Tel Aviv, and some people even say basketball in Israel. It was not an exaggeration. I mean, I've already made a whole movie about it called On the Map, and whoever wants to reach out to us, to Hey Jude Productions, we'll be happy to send you a link or do something with the festival. Again, about it, but this is something that really was significant because it impacted a whole nation. But it also impacted you specifically because in this film, we're showing what happened to you before, during, and after that pivotal game.
Okay, first it was the introduction to basketball at its highest level in Israel. That game represented that. And since that game, basketball, Israeli basketball has been on the charts at its highest level. And so that's one of the things I'm very proud of and I'm very grateful to be a part of. Unbelievable things that happened. We came from, Maccabi hired me. They said, Aulcie, we're playing in the European Cup 25 years. We never made it out of the first round. And for sure, this year, we're not going to make it because the team that won the European Cup the year before is in our bracket, and only one team can go up out of this bracket to the next round. And the team that won the European Cup the year before is in our bracket. So for us to go up and go out and to win the first round, to go out of our bracket, to go up, and then to beat the Russians, and after that, a month and a half later, to win the European Cup is something that it's a dream come true for me. Unbelievable, changed my life forever.
And for those who watching us now and have watched the movie, they always say Aulcie Perry was more than just a basketball player, and you have impacted the country by becoming, in many ways, in people's eyes, the first African American to play in Israel. Now, you were not really the first, but in people's image, you were, and you created some kind of a bridge between Jews and African American. And as we show in the film, and as people see it, this is not just a basketball story. This is really a story about a family. So tell us, what did you find in Israel, not only in basketball, but also with your incredible relationship that we show with Tammy, and the relationship that you have with the country, as we can see until today?
When I talk to people from Newark and from where I grew up, from college friends, and I tell them what I've experienced in Israel, they don't believe me. The impact that that I made and that the team made, and the relationship that I have with Israelis until today. We're talking about something 40 something years ago. We won the championship in '77, and I'm still respected and looked upon as like a player that's playing today, that's on the court today and playing and winning. That's how people look at me today. It's something that's unbelievable.
When was it that you felt like you want to be part of the country? You wanted to be Jewish. You wanted to
Right,
be
right away, because immediately as I arrived to Israel, I felt the difference. America, I'm going to tell you that it wasn't kind and it wasn't nice. I was born and raised in America during a very difficult time. It's called the Jim Crow era, where racism was at its highest level. So it wasn't America to me wasn't a nice place to grow up in. For my parents and my ancestors, it wasn't nice. And to come here and to be respected and to look at not as someone a black or another race, but to be respected as who I am and what I am, to me was something unbelievable. So I knew right away, immediately, that this is the place that I want to lay my hat. My dad always told me, he said, son, you have to lay your hat where you're welcome, where you're loved, and where you're respected. So I chose to lay my hat here in Israel, where I'm looked upon as a human and not as something else.
Mhm. Right. And part of the significance of your story was also the relationship with Tammy, which you became power couple and biracial couple.
Oh,
Was that something that was discussed then? The fact that she's white and you're from a black.
also, my in my first year, my relationship with the top model in Israel, one of the top models in the world. Our relationship was unbelievable. We were the top celebrities, and I didn't know what celebrity meant. I didn't know what it was to be a celebrity. But we were the top celebrities of Israel. Everywhere we went throughout the country, it was like a holiday. Everywhere, no matter what city, what town, what kibbutz, what moshav, everywhere we went, it was like a holiday for us, and we enjoyed it, and it was unbelievable. It was an unbelievable experience for me, coming from the inner city of Newark, New Jersey, to the height of basketball in Europe. Uh, to the society of Israel was unbelievable.
Mhm. Mhm. And one
Truly
of the things that
amazing.
you're also mentioning in the movie is that that kid in Newark at that time did not know so much how to cope with the success, and that led to the troubled times that we are seeing also in the movie. Uh, and looking at it now from perspective, we can also tell, and when I'm asked about the behind the scene, it was not easy for you to talk about it, to share that
Right.
story. But it was when you started to tell us
No,
about your
no, go to
daughter that you
or
wanted to look for when you started to look for Sierra, and that's when, in many ways, I felt that you're more in you're more interested in telling the story, because in some ways you wanted Sierra, your daughter, to know about you from firsthand, not from Google or Wikipedia, right?
exactly. Like I said before, I was telling you before, I was born and raised in a very difficult and different time in America. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have somebody to guide me through a very difficult time. Both of my parents were from super rural North Carolina, and and after I did the research of on my family heritage, and found out that I'm the great great grandson and great grandson of a former slave. So all my history going back, my family history going back all the way back is from there, from my great great grandparents in 1700s, the 1750s on up. That's my history, and so it hasn't been kind to me or my parents, and that's how my parents grew as well. So it's been a tough time for us, and but we survived and we struggled and we persevered. So no, I didn't have a mentor. The only thing I had was God's blessing for me to be 2 meters at 13 and a half years old, and gave me the desire to be the best basketball player that I could be. And that's what I did. I went after that with everything that I had inside of me.
Mhm. And many people that watching your story feel like this is also a story of redemption. There is an element of you now trying to correct some of those things. For example, now you're reaching out to your daughter, and I can say firsthand that that was part of the most moving part. One of the most moving parts of making this film is really to see you and Sierra. And luckily, just before COVID started, when we released the film early to 2020, we had an
Mhm.
opportunity in New York at Lincoln Center with her to show the film in a with full crowd, and it was just incredible honor. And I don't think there was even a dry eye in the crowd when you met with her in the film, and then when she came on stage and hugged you. Uh, how was it in your perspective?
That was remarkable. You know, it was 20 years I hadn't seen her. You know, for 2 years she was with my parents and my family there in North Carolina. But then they just disappeared for 20 years, and as you know, we you and I together searched for her for a couple of years, and we finally found her, and it was a blessing, a truly blessing. And this year has been very tough. The corona has also separated us a little bit. But now that we have the vaccine and everything is getting back together, hopefully that we can build that bond that I was hoping that we were able to do a year ago.
Yeah, and we are calling all the
But now it's
festivals as soon
held
as
up.
we can.
Yeah.
And also has the second vaccine. We're ready to go back and tour. Just open the theaters already. It's, I think, a very good sign
Yes,
in the right
yes.
direction. Another important element of the story, and that also brings us back to when people ask me when I made the film, and what is the story all about. And before I go on to the next subject, I want to also mention Asaf Zellner, who is happened to be also a family of Ahuva and Aulcie, and I can even say almost my family, because we worked so closely to the film. He helped us, bring up to life a lot of elements that we did not have through his incredible animations. So really, I mean, I don't want to give credit to all the films, all the people in the film, but Asaf is wonderful, and he was with
Uh,
us at our opening in Lincoln Center.
the husband of our daughter, he's amazing. He's really amazing.
Yeah,
Amazing young man.
yeah,
Yes.
incredible human being and talented
Yes.
animator. Uh,
Excellent.
but but I wanted to also mention another very important person for you in your life that was kind of a father figure and was also a very important moment in the film is when you were almost, I will say, when you hit rock bottom. And Israel never forgave you, and you were able, before you finish sentence, you're able to go back and visit two very important people in your life, and that's Shamluk when you surprised him for that show, which was like
Yes.
a moment that I would say that was for me as a creator, that was the moment that I wanted to build on because I knew, okay, I have a very incredible, like an unbelievable moment that Aulcie is coming and surprise everybody to that show. This is your life, and then second, the next day you're going and you're visiting Tammy. So let us know a little bit about that because that's maybe a very pivotal point in your life because you're coming back to Israel after 10 years.
You have no idea what that trip meant to me, and no idea. I still had 2 months to go with the government and every my problem, and I got the invitation to come to Israel for Shamlu. So I went to the authorities and told them, I said, look, I have only 2 months to go. Give me permission to go to this very special program for Shamlu. They looked at me and said, "Are you crazy?" I said, "Okay, no problem." So I went back to work. I called Israel and said, "They told me there's no way that I will be able to come for Shamlu." So I went back to work, and a couple of days, about a week afterwards, I get a phone call from the authorities that said, "Look, when you get off work, I want you to come to my office immediately." And they hung the phone up, and he hung the phone up right away. I said, "What? I got 2 months to go, and everything is over with. I can start my life over again. What the hell's going on?" So I went to his office, and I walked in his office, and he's sitting there, and he looked at me, and he shook his head, and he said, "I don't know who you know, but you're going to Israel." And I was in shock. I'm sitting there looking, and I'm in shock. I said, "Okay, thank you." And I went out and I called Israel, and they made arrangements for me to get passports and everything. And I got to Israel, and it's the first time that I was able to see all my friends, my teammates that I had been playing with for 9 years, all the management from Maccabi that has supported me. They didn't leave me. They didn't leave me out there even after the big mistake I made. It was the most unbelievable experience that I can tell you now that I had in my life. To see all my friends and the people that had been by my side for so many years. It was really, truly an amazing experience, unbelievable. And then the next day, I got Tammy had been diagnosed with cancer at the time, and she was really in a bad shape. So my friends made arrangements where I could go to the hospital and visit her in the hospital in her last days. So to me, this was the best trip that I could possibly have to get to see her in her last days and to see my family and my friends in Israel after such a disappointment and heartfelt situation that I'd find myself in.
Yeah, these are one of those situations that you say, if I just wrote it as a story,
Mm-hmm.
and you also talk about it a little bit in the movie, people will say that cannot be true,
Canada,
but the fact that it
yeah,
really happened, and they took you out of your parole just before the end of your sentence and brought
just,
you to Israel, and you were managing not only to pay a tribute to your father figure. I will call him Shamluk. In many
yeah,
ways, he was the
yeah.
father figure
Unbelievable.
in your
Yeah.
life. And to the love of your life, Tammy, that was just something that was something that will be hard to write. And for all of you who are
No,
listening
you
and
could,
want to join us, we're trying to make.
you couldn't write it. You couldn't. Nobody would believe it. Even if you wrote it,
Yeah.
nobody
So we
would
are we
believe
are
something
writing
like
it as a narrative film. So all of you wants to reach out to Angel Productions and help us make this dream come true as a narrative film,
unbelievable.
and give us ideas to who can play Aulcie better than Aulcie. I don't know if there's somebody that can do that, but
I'm telling you. I would like to see that person because it was 9 unbelievable years. It was unbelievable. We started out when we weren't supposed to make it out of the first round, and in those 9 years, we had years where we had 60 games and we won 54. It was unbelievable. We had no doubt and we never thought that we were going to lose. Every game we thought we could win. We never went into a game with the thought that we're going to lose. We were just hungry for winning, and that's what we did. And we went and we played with everything we had inside of us. And another thing is, I don't know of any team in the world where four of the five players are in the starting five for 9 years. No team has done that. None that I know of.
yeah,
Mickey, Moti, Lou, and myself, we were together for 9 years.
yeah.
We knew each other better than anyone. And
And I can tell you that, from the side, looking at these guys, and they are friends until today. They're really good friends, and they're staying so much in touch. So that's something that is speaks to them, and I think it's also because each one of them is very, very intelligent. It's not just a basketball player. You guys, unfortunately, in the 70s, didn't make the money that is being made now in basketball. So each one of the players had to work in something else. So there is a lawyers, there is professors, there are all those people.
unbelievable, unbelievable. These guys are really a great group of guys, and I couldn't have prayed or asked for anything better than to be with this group that I played with for 9 years.
Mm-hmm. And we have a lot, that we can talk about, but we show a lot in the movie. And again, we would love to also come to see you guys, the crowd, and meet in person. There is nothing like
Mm-hmm.
this. But we can wrap with, I think, one story that maybe tells it all is the fact that when you are born, your mom cannot make it to the hospital,
Mm.
and from every place that she can find to have birth for you, she goes to Beth Israel.
Unbelievable. In 1950, it was still the Jim Crow era, and the hospital designated for blacks in Newark was on the other side of town. And my mom was about to deliver me. My dad rushed home, but and the hospital was on the other side of town. And my mom started to deliver me in the car. So I'm coming out. My dad rushed to the first hospital near the closest that he saw, and he went in and he said, "Look, my wife is having the baby in the car. Please help me." So they came out and looked, and they saw that I was coming. I wasn't waiting. I was coming out, and they said, "Okay, come in." And when they got inside, and the hospital was Beth Israel in Newark, and they brought me in. They delivered me, and not only that, and you have to know that in the 50s, circumcision in the black community was almost unheard of. But and two, when women had deliveries in that time, they didn't go home right away, like today, 2 or 3 days. So on the seventh day, when the eighth day, when the rabbi came by and gave the brit, he brit me too. It was something that was amazing back in those days. So and no, I didn't think about it. Nobody else thought about it until I started to play basketball and taking showers around 12 and a half, 13 years old. They looked and I'm looking, something wrong here. Something's not right. So I was embarrassed. I thought something was wrong with me. So I was the last one in the shower. I would go with my taco need one and go to the shower. And then I couldn't take it no more. And I finally went to my mom, something wrong. What's happening here? You didn't talk about sexual things in the 50s with your parents, but I couldn't take it no more. And Mom said, look, and she explained to me what circumcision was and everything. And I said, phew, I thought I was born with something defective, something wrong. And so it was a tough period for me
But
for,
besides,
for
of
a
course,
few
the
months.
jokes that we're talking about and the leather jacket of Tal Brody.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Besides those jokes, you also mentioned that you saw it as a sign that this was your destiny since the day that you were
Exactly.
born.
Exactly, exactly, and I've had so many discussions with rabbis because in Judaism they don't believe in destiny. But I tell myself, how can all of this happen without it being destiny? How can this happen? There's no way. So I've had a lot of discussions. I've talked to them, and I'm still discussing it when I can get to a rabbi and try to understand how something like this can happen without it being destiny.
Yeah. So, Aulcie Perry, I do believe in destiny, and I'm very honored that my destiny was to be the one telling your story, and I'm thankful, and I always tell that to you. I'm thankful for you that you trusted me with your story. It wasn't always easy for you to tell that, and I had to be persistent, and that's just because I felt like this is something that needs to be told. And so I'm so honored to be the one telling the story. This is the movie that is very dear to my heart. I made other films, but this is something that I'm very proud of, and
Okay.
and I hope you're proud of this as well. And I really hope that we can again go on the road and
Yeah, I
film
hope so too. I really do.
as many as people as possible, because we can, I believe, inspire people. I think there's a lot to learn from what you've had, from the good and from the other side of it, and people can be inspired. And thank God, we had a good ending to everything, and
O-
that was fantastic.
Okay, I want to thank you too. It wasn't easy, Danny. For me, all of the things that we went through to make the movie, I had put it away. I put it away, and for me to open it back up, that's why it took me so long to give you a positive answer. I didn't want to open it up. It was very difficult for me to open a lot of things, 'cause but I'm glad I did, and I'm glad it was you that I opened it with, and it worked out really well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There are a lot of people to thank for the film. They're all in the credit, but I do want to also mention somebody who's next to you, Ahuva,
Yes.
really helped me
Yeah.
also.
I'm sure. I'm sure without her, it wouldn't have been able to be done. She's
Exactly.
amazing. She's been writing and taking notes from our inception, since we met. I was telling her about my life and telling her little things about my life, and all the time she's taking notes and remembering different aspects that I told her about my life. So she was amazing. Yes, you're right. Amazing.
Yeah. So thank you so much, Aulcie. Thank you so much for everyone who's watching us. Whoever wants to support us, we have the basketball of Maccabi Tel Aviv signed by Aulcie Perry and myself. You can go to our website and ask how to get it. And whoever wants to be in touch with us and bring us along to your community when we can come to your community, please go to our website, heyjudeproductions.com, and we will put that also on the chat. And we would love to continue bringing inspirational stories and see you hopefully very, very soon. And of course, thank you to the Silicon Valley Jewish Film Festival that hosted this talk. So until then, shalom from Los Angeles and shalom from Ramat Gan, Israel.
Okay. Bye bye and thank you.